What's up, YouTube? It's Kevin Wells with some more communication skills to help you improve your relationships with others and also give you some self-confidence in going into the next situation you may encounter that may spur up some emotions. So here we go. So today I want to talk about expectations versus reality. And just as a quick reminder, your expectations are basically your belief systems about three things: yourself, others, and the world. So what I expect out of myself and where I should be going. Should, false reality. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas. There's about others, so how others should act and how the world should act and operate. So with all that kind of being said, so we have our expectations, right? And then we have reality. So whenever our expectations don't meet up with our reality, we tend to develop anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, whatever you want to call it. And then that can lead to disagreements, arguments, explosions, aggression, whatever you want to call it. And so what I want you to start being more cognizant of are, what are your expectations? Maybe take a piece of paper out one day and write down, hey, what are my expectations of myself? What are my expectations of others? And what are my expectations of how the world should operate? We get so involved with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas that we don't deal with reality. And the problem is, when we don't deal with reality, we're dealing with something or we're trying to work around something that's not actually occurring. And so that's why we're getting upset. So for example, let's say that you and your wife, significant other, whatever, let's say that let's say you have traditional roles. I'm just making this up here. Again, things to be looking at and writing down. But let's say that as traditional, I work, wife doesn't work, and she takes care of the kids, cleans, picks kids up from school, takes them to school, sporting or I guess extracurricular activities, and then when I come home, there's dinner made. Well, let's say that during all this, I'm also expecting her to have the whole house clean. Well, the way this kind of works is when I have those expectations in my mind. I have a vision of what she's doing, and how her day is going, and she also has a vision of me, right? So if I walk in the door and I see, hey, she, as soon as I walk in, there's plates everywhere, there's toys everywhere, whatever it may be. Initially, I might get frustrated. Why might I get frustrated? Because my expectations aren't meeting reality. And the thing is, I'm assuming that when I get home that X, Y, and Z are going to be done, right? But that's not what happens when I walk in the door, reality. And so the in-between space of my expectation and reality, right? What's happening in this space is my frustration, my anger, my bitterness, my resentment. Let me change this up a little bit. Sorry, I know that was a little crooked. OCD. All right. So when I get there and those two things aren't in alignment, I get frustrated. I get upset because now I have to go put more energy and work into something after I've had a long day. Well, I know that seems selfish. Here's the deal, but that's why you're getting upset. And part of this is maybe we need to start looking at that. Are there times where your expectations need to be more flexible? And I would say yes. There are a lot of times our expectations need to be more flexible. The thing I find that's difficult, and why it's difficult to do this, is because we're not being mindful of what that is. And I have a whole nother video on mindfulness. So I would say go back and look at that. It's about a 9-10 minute video, and it explains all that stuff. But I have to be observant that that's what's going on in my mind as I'm walking in the door. Does that make sense? I also need to have in my mind kind of a pre-existing thought or idea that, hey, if I walk in the door and it's not exactly how I think it should be, it's going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, it is okay. How many of you have gotten really upset about something, and then the next day turns out it really wasn't that big of a deal? I mean, I've done it before too, right? We've all done it. And here's the thing. We can get better at this if we are more mindful of our expectations when we walk into a situation. Here's the thing, I don't expect you to be perfect. I really don't. If you start seeing yourself get upset, like here's the key. If you're upset, notice it, observe it, and then participate in it. Participate in the reality, not the expectation of what's actually going on. Because when you participate in what's actually going on, you're going to get a lot better response. And you're going to come off more graceful. You're going to come off you're going to come off more caring. And guys, that's what every other person wants. We want to feel cared about and like someone is thinking about us. Because for all we know, the whole time while I've been at work, we don't know. Maybe we haven't been talking to our significant other, or maybe we've had a few little blurbs here and there through a text message, and we don't know. Maybe the kids were just acting like hooligans that day, right? And they just had stuff. It was like cleaning up one mess after another, after another, after another. It's a job. And so being flexible in our expectations on what we're expecting our spouse to be doing, if we lighten up on that, become flexible, become more open, we're going to see we're not only going to be happier, but our responses from our significant other are going to be better, less defensive, and we're going to have more productive conversations. So one thing that I'd encourage you to do, first thing you have to observe, first thing you have to know what your expectations are, right? And you really need to have conversations with your partner about expectations. And hopefully that's what y'all been doing in your dating. And if that's changed, y'all need to be talking about that too, because we go through life changes. So all that being said, a tidbit of advice: if you notice yourself starting to get frustrated, starting to get upset because of your expectations when with whatever's going on, and whether that's with, you found out that your significant other spent more money than you thought. Maybe it's the person in the car line ahead of you that's not moving. Maybe it's the traffic jam you're in. Maybe it's the coworker that says something kind of off kilter. One thing that may help you, if you can be observant of it, ask yourself this question: is it a possibility that fill in the blank? Is it a possibility the kids have just been really tough to deal with today? Is it a possibility that the person in front of me in the car line is having a hard day today? And they're not as attentive as they normally are? Is it possible that there's a wreck up the road and that's why we're stuck back in traffic, and that's why it's moving so slow? Yes, you might have to be at work. Yes, you might have to go do something. But here's the thing: what's getting upset going to do about it? Nothing. Right? And I've done these things too myself, guys. And it's taken lots of time, lots of trial, lots of error. But one thing that's helped me, and I'm hoping it'll help you, is to ask yourself again, is it a possibility? But the first things first, you have to observe it, and then you have to insert that line into your next train of thought, your next thought. And if you do that, you're going to be happier. You're going to feel better. You're going to have less anxiety. Because at the end of the day, it is what it is. I hate that phrase, but it is. So make a choice today. Be more observant of your expectations and ask yourself the question: is it a possibility? I think it'll help you. I look forward to helping you. I look forward to being able to provide you more information next time on another topic. Again, guys, expectations and reality, when they do not come together, we tend to get frustrated and upset. So one of the ways to help you with that is to ask yourself, is it a possibility? To provide endless possibilities of being flexible and nimble in that situation and having more productive conversations than defensive ones. All right, take care. Look forward to speaking with you next time. Bye.